Welcome to Board Certified, expert interview episodes about medical licensing exams and healthcare careers. I'm Tyler, founder of Achievable, and we offer affordable adaptive online prep courses for the USMLE Step 1, MCAT, PTCE, NPTE, and others. Each course contains everything you need to succeed, including comprehensive study guides, video lessons, thousands of practice questions powered by our memory enhancing algorithm, and full length practice exams. You can get a free trial of any course by going to achievable.me. And if you like it, be sure to use the code podcast to save 10%.
All right, let's dive in. So today we have Aliza Kamran Khan. And Aliza, I'd love if you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, nice to meet you, Cassandra. First, I'm Aliza, and I'm USMLE instructor as well as a scientific committee member in one of the United Nations university. And I'm having more than 5 years of experience in making the students prepare for the MCAT, a site of USMLE. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So, as you mentioned, we're talking about the MCAT today. So, to get started, let's go over what is a good MCAT score and how does it vary by applicant type, by school? What are those differences?
In a range of 515 to 520. That's considered to be 90th percentile. And for that perspective, how exactly you could just get it by just dividing your scores in each section that would not below or less than 197 approximately. And in achieving that CAT score, I would suggest that the students they need to set their target first, researching on the MCAT scores averages. That's really important. In that perspective, they could just setting their goals first. So then after setting the goals, they would be definitely able to get a good score in that.
And each school kind of has its average score range. So, it matters which school they're trying to apply to kind of gauge their target score for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Because setting up an MCAT score is first, you need to set a criteria that you are targeting which medical schools. And once you are done targeting your medical schools, then you need to just research on the MCAT score averages that they're offering. Afterwards, you would be able to set up your goal like a slight above than that so that you can just take into account some of the other desired school into competitiveness. So in that perspective, you could just definitely, if not the desired one, so at least you could just get the average MCAT scores that they're offering.
Yeah, definitely. So it's good to maybe have a top 3 to 5 choices
Of
for
course,
for
of
which
course.
schools you have. Great. And then how far in advance should students start preparing for the MCAT?
Just this MCAT is something, the medical overall is something that you need to invest your efforts in. So you could say average 3 to 6 months, depends on like how you are designing your approach, like whether you are just making yourself a part-time or a full-time. Right? Definitely, if you are just like before the intended date, it's really important to set your, if you are having a lesser time, so I would recommend you to have a complete 3 month preparation that would include exactly the hours per week. That would be 35 to 40, it depends on you. And a part-time would definitely just in between the 12 to 15 hours, depends on that how exactly you're designing your preparation style. That matters a lot in MCAT, right? So I would say that believe into preparing yourself early, because as early as you start, as better as you can.
And is there like, a certain time frame within school to start thinking about MCAT? Does that matter? Can you kind of start whenever, you feel ready for that? What's a good timeline based on schooling?
That depends. It's really important to be consistent here, right? So, for example, if you are thinking to just like dive into the MCAT, it's really important to just explore what exactly you want first. Once you're done with that and you're focused, then I would suggest you that you could just follow all the perspectives for this. So I would believe that this is something that's connected to you first. It's really important to just make your decision clear first, and then everything you can just set up on your pace.
Yeah. And then what are some study strategies that you think are most effective for improving performance across all of the MCAT sections?
Talking about MCAT, or even apart from MCAT, any exam, right? The study strategies are a bit similar. Use the flashcards, use the activities, do practice exams. When you practice the MCAT exams, not just it will boost your confidence up, but also you're getting yourself familiarized with the exam pattern, how you're going to be managing your time while solving a questions. So it's just set up a stopwatch, do the exam, do these things. So that would definitely just make you get better performed in MCATs. So these are active recalling. When you're actively recalling your information, you don't need to get much into it. So yeah, space repetition. These are the things that are a bit similar for the study strategies of MCAT, I believe.
Yeah, and practice exams are definitely high up on that priority list. And that's also a good way that students can identify and look at any weak content areas. Are there any other tactics to see the content that maybe students are struggling in, and then how can they improve that?
Talking about that, it purely depends on something that's connected to students. MCAT is something that they're having the subjects that are already, all of these are what I believe at this stage is are now unequal. A lot of students they could just struggle in some of the areas, but that depends on them only. Whatever the topic that you're covering in MCAT, it's really important that if you are just getting something that's not clear to you or not understandable, just do the questions as much as you can, because what happens is that at this stage students they just don't to invest their time practicing questions. They would rather just considering the topics theoretically and not practically. In that perspective, like they just somehow missed some of the content that is very crucial to be prepared for. So I think that these are some of the ways in which students could just cover all the things together.
Yeah, and I do think when you prepare for the MCAT, you've taken some of these classes already in school, so
Of
you can
course.
almost identify your weaknesses then and maybe
Yeah,
focus on that when prepping for the MCAT.
definitely.
And then, as far as the practice exams, how many do you recommend taking before taking the actual MCAT?
Again, depends on the students, like how they are preparing themselves. But apart from that, practice is the key. As much practice exams as you're doing, right, you would be able to get more flexibility in that. Because if we're going to talk about practice exam, it's basically helping the student to allocate their time effectively. So practicing exam is making you get better score, and I really mean it, like, because students when they're just focusing, they're rushing up for the topics and just panicking themselves that they got all of it right. But what happens that when they're sitting on exam, they don't know some of the tips that are crucial to get a good score, like the time management, as I said. So it's really important to do the practice exams again and again, along with the time durations already mentioned for the MCAT by just design like putting a stopwatch along themselves.
Mhm.
So in that perspective, they would be able to write or correct better answers with lesser time. And that is actually the key to get a good score in MCAT.
Yeah, that's a great point. Having the real life environment,
Mhm.
copying that, I think helps,
Mhm.
especially to anxiety. If you have all the
Exactly.
time in the world to complete it.
Already
Well,
the
sure.
students are very worried and anxious that what exactly they're going to be doing in that, right?
Yeah.
How the exam looks like and where we're going to be seated, who's going to be the invigilator. These are some of the things that are already making you anxious at that time. So if you
Hmm.
have already get yourself familiarized with the exam pattern, you don't need to get into it that much.
And then what are some of the biggest pitfalls that hold students back from their MCAT score goals?
I would say that there are so many common pitfalls that students will do, and that is again issues with time management, as I said. Apart from that, you could say that at this age, students are a lot of into the distraction that would involve your social media, like phone
Hmm.
use. I would say self doubt, whether I could do it, I'm not capable of it, I won't do it. You could say inadequate preparation. I must say a lot of students, they don't like take MCAT that much seriously, not putting that much efforts, and then after getting the results they got, oh, how I got this, right? Or I would say that unrealistic goal setting, that's important too. Apart from that, some of the students, they're going to have some of the issues that's connected personally that would indirectly impacting their academic performance. These are some of the pitfalls that making you having a lower score in MCAT. And apart from that, I would say and I believe that at this age students are far more have that belief that I could do it and I know everything, and in that perspective they're not just putting their efforts, rather using the social medias again and again. So once you're setting yourself for MCAT, try to devote your time for it too. Only then you would be able to get good marks.
Yeah. And you mentioned a few times, there's this mindset behind it too of kind of believing in yourself and really going for it. Is there anything other than that? And I know you just mentioned quite a few, but anything that you've seen either with yourself or with some students that this one thing really changed the game for them with their MCAT prep and then their MCAT scores?
I would say that preparation for it, that's really important. Apart from all the things related to your persona, it's really important to have classes regularly, review the materials regularly, do the academic activities as much as you can, and of course take a lot of free courses so that they would be able to get a good scores in that, because these are some of the things already. Once you are done with yourself, then now this is not enough for getting a good score, so only you can get the good score once you're prepared for it. So preparation is really important. Now that depends whether you're using any kind of activity to make yourself prepared for it, but I would say that taking classes or be actively recalling your information, doing the practice exams, these are some of the things that would definitely a game change for students for the MCAT.
Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to say before we wrap up?
I would say that whether it's any kind of testing, it's really important that once you're going to be setting yourself up for it, then set up with a proper, targeted, structured approach rather than just randomly deciding whatever you wanted to do and afterwards just like juggling with your decision that why I've done with it. So it's really important and be consistent with your academic performance and you're all set whatever you wanted to achieve.
Wonderful. Great. Well, this has been Board Certified, hosted by Tyler and Cassandra from Achievable with Aliza Kamran Khan. And Achievable has great online courses for the USMLE Step 1, MCAT, PTCE, and NPTE. You can try them out for free at achievable.me.